Hello and welcome to episode 180 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. Today is January 20th, 2020. I am Rollo McFlugel, and with me is Slappy Jones 2. Show notes page for this episode will be mcflugel.com/180, where you'll be able to find some links to the things we talk about, as well as checking out our sponsor, libertymugs.com, where you can buy awesome libertarian and Bitcoin-themed mugs. And I think we're going to talk a little bit more about Liberty Mugs later in the episode. We were teasing this kind of big announcement, and we finally have it, but we're going to kind of work it into the episode, and it'll be the free market success story too. But before we get into any of that, finally did some other sort of housekeeping where hopefully you've noticed that our audio is a little bit better. I kind of changed up how we record a little bit. Actually, let me hit the backup record button just in case the new thing doesn't work. But yeah, I'm recording directly. Figured out a way using a different computer, actually using Linux, and I'm recording directly into Audacity, and so it removes some of the middleman and steps and everything, so it should be a little bit better. And I'm saying this because I want to say a little bit of a thank you to people in Twitter, because when I was trying to figure this out, I think it was Saturday night, there was a lot of like latency in the audio I was getting from my microphone, and I tweeted out. My intention was just like scream into the void and maybe have people kind of laugh at my misery.
Yeah.
About the latency, but a couple people kind of hopped in and tried to help. So I appreciate that from people. And actually, what kind of fixed it was that I just this evening when I was getting ready, I unplugged the microphone and plugged it back in for something unrelated. And then when I heard it, the latency was pretty much gone. I changed the setting, but apparently for that change setting to kick in, I guess you had to restart the microphone. I'm getting used to Linux, so. But with that out of the way, Slappy, what are we talking about this episode?
Yeah, we're going to talk about a few things today. Some recent events, I guess. Target Tory, Molyneux getting the axe from MailChimp. And I guess just kind of rage mob in general online, and just some thoughts about it and how we can combat it, I guess,
route around
or
it.
Help those people. Yeah, because it is kind of scary. So let's get into it a little bit. What's up with this Target Tory? What was this story?
Yeah, so some guy on Twitter, there's a blue check mark guy. But he posted something on Twitter where he said like, "Hey, what's up with this Target?" I don't have the tweet in front of me, but I think we all know what happened. A guy wanted to buy a toothbrush and like a $90 electric toothbrush that the display price, way in the back of the shelf, said it was a penny, and so he went to the manager of Target and was trying to buy this toothbrush for a penny and was claiming that it was against Massachusetts law to have a price that, or not honor, for the store not to honor a price that was listed. And he claimed that he called the police, and he took a picture of the manager whose name tag said Tory, and she just had like rolling her eyes, just like, I can't believe what's happening. This is insane.
This is absurd.
Yeah, the whole thing was absolutely absurd, and people immediately just started like slamming this guy. For good reason.
Yeah, this wasn't. They weren't trashing Tory as far as I know.
Right, and no one was, and so ended up someone made a GoFundMe campaign, and I think for the last I saw it was like they raised maybe like $18,000 for her to go on vacation, and they were actually able to find her, and so she was able to collect the money. I assume. I haven't heard. I assume that that all went through fine. So it's a story of someone doing trying to do the rage mob thing, and two,
this guy's name is David Leavitt.
Yeah,
the toothbrush was $89.
after reading, because there are a bunch of articles, people like dug up stuff about him, and this is not the first time he's done this, and then I saw a tweet of his where it said like, oh, I wonder who else I can send on a free vacation. I don't think this guy's like real. I think he's just a troll.
Yeah, he's a clown.
And so I don't think he actually, I'm sure he did pull the stunt that he did, but just doing it for trying to get attention. The guy does have a lot of Twitter followers, and he somehow got a blue check mark. He claims to be a journalist for like CBS and another organization, and both like denied.
Both of them have denied that, yeah.
Yeah, so he's just out there.
And he did call the police on target for this, by the way.
Yeah.
At least he said he did.
Well, that's actually probably should thank him for that, so they could be dealing with that and not going out busting people for.
True.
But yeah, it's just, but that doesn't really matter, because that's not the point. Whether or not this guy is real or not doesn't negate the fact that people do this thing. Now, it's like social media has a lot of wonderful benefits to it. One of the things that it does not have is like this kind of very vain approach that people have to like everything now. Like if something goes wrong, they take a picture, or if someone's not doing something they don't like, they take a picture and post it on social media for everyone to see, so they can have everyone and their mother across the internet say how terrible and awful this person is.
Right.
It's like, it's pretty nasty, because whether or not the person's like, in the case of Target Tory, she just absolutely did nothing wrong. He was, it was stupid. Everything that he was trying to do was absolutely stupid, and you know, she was right to not honor the one charging one cent for it was like the display charge for the item, not the actual item. But anyway, even anyone with half a brain would realize that, like, oh, well, obviously a penny for a
$89 toothbrush.
It would be like if you went to a car dealership and someone accidentally put a $10 sticker on a car, and you were like, no, it says $10 on it, so you have to sell it to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Three zeros fell off the end of that.
Right, yeah. So just like on its face, just absolutely absurd. But that's not always the case. That the person that someone's trying to get a rage mob after is someone like
There's several
Tory.
Examples.
Yeah,
we see it all the time. And these aren't famous people. They're like some guy working at whatever store.
Yeah, or even just like, even if it's not someone working in the store, just someone that someone has an interaction with. And I'm not talking about like the necessarily like the Karens that you know, call the police for something stupid, like someone's barbecue, like having a barbecue in a park. That's not. I don't even know how. There's some situations where it makes it real difficult to be like, you shouldn't like blast this person on the internet. But even people like that, I don't like the whole internet rage mob mentality. That even like the Karens that call the police like that you should have everyone go and like hate her and hate this person, even if they do something bad, even if they are being a nasty person. Obviously not trying to defend anything bad that these people are doing, but maybe they just had a bad day. Maybe there's a lot of things, a lot of reasons that could make someone act the way they do. Or maybe, you know, surprise, surprise, the person taking the video is missing some valuable context or recording of what happened right before that. And again, I brought up the Karen calling the police because I'm trying to bring up an extreme case, but I'm speaking in very general terms about things that could happen or what the situation could be. And so, like, when you have someone when you bring the entire internet or a lot of people to come and get on their high horses, and by the way, like, all these people that are like saying how awful these people are in these videos are like patting themselves on the back as if they
Look at
are
how great
absolutely
they are.
perfect.
They're just the moral police here.
Yeah, it's just not healthy for anybody. You make this person feel like they're absolutely the smallest thing in the world, probably just feel absolutely awful. Meanwhile, people that do nasty things themselves all get to say, "Oh, I would never do that," and look how great I am. Because I mean, think of yourself. We all have bad days. We all do bad things. Do we want to be the person who happens to be recorded when they do it and have have thousands or millions of people sitting there like dunking on them, and you get to see
you happen to have a camera on you when you're having a bad day,
right? It was like the Pope Francis with the slapping the woman's hand.
Yeah, so he's going through a line, and a woman reached out to grab him, and she kind of pulled him toward her, and he slapped her hand away.
Yeah, and everyone's dunking on the Pope, and it's like, well,
see, he's really not infallible.
yeah, oh, goodness, the ignorance. People were saying that, and it's like the ignorance with that statement is just over the top. But it was funny that, like, I think we've said it here before. I know I'm not the biggest fan of this Pope with a lot of stuff he's done. But, like, that is the last thing I would criticize the Pope for that situation. Mm-hmm. And all these people, like, trying to dunk on the Pope, acting like, oh, he's really not such a great guy. It's like, really? Like, I'm not a huge fan of this Pope, but you really gonna, like, put yourself up against the Pope and talk about how much of a better person you are because you didn't slap someone's hand who was aggressively pulling you.
Right.
It's maybe take a step back and kind of think about what you're actually kind of saying there.
So what else do we have, Molyneux?
Yeah, it kind of like well, just to touch another little point about the Target Story thing, because there's back with like the stuff with like, oh, bake the cake, and like every once in a while, it's always associated with gay weddings. Someone goes into a place and causes a stir because the business refuses to sell them a good or service. And so they post it online for all the internet to see it, and everyone starts like criticizing these things and leaving real bad Yelp reviews and calling them up and saying how awful they are. And it's like, well, and maybe this place goes out of business, or that's what they're trying to do, make them go out of business. It's like, well, like what authority or why do you think that you live on the other side of the country, never heard of this business before? Like, why should you have any say in whether or not they continue as a business or not?
Yeah, someone who's never going to even have the opportunity to shop there.
Yeah, why not you let like local problems be solved locally?
And with that one, remember that pizza shop in like Nowhere, Indiana?
Yes.
That the news went out and said, like, would you cater a gay wedding? And the guy's like, I'm a pizza shop.
Yeah, he's like, I don't really get weddings.
I mean, do we get a lot of wedding? And I guess he said, like, we're against that or something. And then people just went insane.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Pretty absurd.
Yeah, it's funny to think that the way society today is that, like, there are a lot of gay people that are open about being gay, that if they were practiced discrimination based on sexuality, that people would have figured it out already.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so funny that people automatically associate someone that says, you know what, I don't want to participate. I'm going to decline participating in your gay wedding. Means that they hate gay people and will, like, if they found out someone was gay, would just not want to serve them at all. Like, oh, you're gay, I'm not going to give you a slice of pizza. Like, that's absurd.
I haven't even heard of I mean, I'm not going to say that's never happened. It probably has somewhere, but you never hear about that.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, it's
You never hear about that. And I even think the pizza shop guy said that. Like, gay people can certainly come to my restaurant. That's no problem. But I'm not going to cater a gay wedding.
Mhm.
I think that was what happened. At least I heard that somewhere. Maybe it was a cake somewhere. I don't know.
Well,
I heard someone make that exact argument. Like, we have no problem. We don't ask our customers if they're gay or straight. They can come in, but we're not going to participate in something we disagree with.
right. That reminds me. I was talking to my brother and sister-in-law last night, and they were talking about Nextdoor.com.
Yep.
It's like a neighborhood
Kind of the neighborhood website. I just got invited to mine, and I didn't sign up, and I should have. I don't know if I missed that window. Is it cool?
It can be useful, but it's also just filled with Karens.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I'm in a Facebook group for my neighborhood, and it's, like, brutal.
Yeah, so there was someone posted this thing in their neighborhood saying that, like, oh, they I think they had they had some like exchange student or something. This guy from Nepal was staying with them, and talking about how he was the nicest guy in the world and everything. I'm sure he's a wonderful man, and he's getting married, and so he went to some local tailor to get work for the wedding done, and they apparently refused to service him. And these people like posted the name of the business and all the information about it, and was like, "Oh, these people are all." It was just basically did just a hit job on these people, saying like, "Oh, they refuse to serve him because he's looks different or whatever." And someone finally like chimed in all these comments. Meanwhile, all these other people are saying like, "Oh, it's so awful," and how dare these people? I'm never going to go to them as a tailor if they're going to be like that. And someone chimed in, and they're like, you guys realize that like Nepali weddings, like the garments that they wear is like really crazy. I think they actually knew the people that ran the business, and like they didn't want to mess it up. It was out of their wheelhouse. This is like the equivalent of going into there and being like, yeah, I got a leak under my toilet. And they're like, well, we're not plumbers. How dare you not want to serve me? What is it, because I'm wearing a green shirt?
Right.
It's the same kind of deal. And so it's like, can we get past looking at like the very base surface things about what's going on and be able to look barely under the surface?
Man. I really do. I think it goes back to our schooling, because you're told what to think, and you have to repeat it back. No one looks for context. No one asks questions. It's like you see something, and that's what it is, and you don't question it, and you don't try to think of what the other person was doing or who the author. You know what I mean? Right. It's like the teacher tells you something, and you repeat it back on the test, and that's how people learn to learn. That's how they react in everything. Like there's no subtlety, there's no nuance.
Do they teach
everything
allegories?
Is black and white.
Do they teach like that allegories exist in public schools?
Probably not.
It's crazy. It's so frustrating to have conversations with people and not have them not appreciate any sort of nuance. Really, it's just a lot of it's just this kind of rage culture where they just want to confirm their bias and always looking for a fight. Always this idea. It's like with politics. Oh, if stupid liberals or evil conservatives. That's whatever. Everyone just wants to dunk on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll admit,
and that was something we were talking about before. I just cut you off, but we talked about before we were recording about Tori. Imagine if someone found her Facebook page and saw she's a Trump supporter, or the opposite of, she's a social justice warrior, Democrat. All the people supporting her, there'd be half those people still supporting her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though the same situation happened to the same person.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's what's frustrating to me. We can't just like. It's so funny how that one little piece of information makes you think that this person is like just a nice, looks like a nice woman, frustrated by someone being a jerk to her at her job, and then you find out this like one little tiny piece of information, and now she's just an irredeemable, just awful person that you just want to have nothing to do with. And it's like, yeah, like, how do you are you capable of like making any judgments about anyone if that's you just like do a complete 180 like that? It's crazy. But speaking of people that or someone that people don't like, Stefan Molyneux.
Yeah.
So he got canceled recently by MailChimp. And this was another just like nosy person that just wants to bring rage and awfulness to the world. Just like randomly sent MailChimp a message on Twitter that said like, "Oh, did you know that you're hosting a known white supremacist or I forget the term she used, either like white nationalist or white supremacist on your platform," and Stefan Molyneux. And in, just the most spineless way possible, they responded back like, "Oh, thank you for alerting us, and we have removed him from our platform." And it's like, who goes around like looking to see what service Molyneux uses for his mailing list?
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, that's so odd. But like, and we'll get it out of the way right now because I don't want to have to keep saying it. Or we're not Molyneux fans, like we've talked about before. Like the ridiculous stuff that he says. But like,
we don't even need to put that caveat out there. Let's just disclaim whatever.
But it's like, what? Like the difference between us and someone like this person is that like he says something stupid. We talk about the stupid thing that he says, and then we like move on with our lives. There are people that are like going around looking just ways to like ruin his day. And it's like, what is the matter with you? And so now, like, what do you want? Do these people? And I don't know. I think he had problems with YouTube. I think he's getting like demonetized.
He did get. I'm pretty sure he got demonetized.
A lot of people got demonetized on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because of this kind of like cancel culture type thing. And a lot of it's just companies, I think, advertisers say to YouTube like, "Hey, we don't want you to have our
and I
ads
understand
on."
that, like, if you don't want to advertise, but
I understand that too, because there are things that like if I were if we started advertising with Liberty Mugs, we wouldn't like put up Liberty Mugs advertisements with associated with Planned Parenthood.
Right, and I don't know, when you're watching, I think there's also part of it is like the boomers versus millennials type deal, where when there was like Wild Kingdom by Mutual of Omaha, like Wild Kingdom was associated with Mutual of Omaha, an insurance company.
Right.
Mutual of Omaha is paying money to support the Wild Kingdom show, and there were shows like that. Where your advertiser is directly supporting. Whereas internet ads, I've never associated when I turn on a YouTube video because I get the same ads on every video I watch. I don't connect. I don't think like, oh, Tide is supporting whatever video I'm watching because they're paying for internet ads. I don't know that if I'm advertising, like, should I be able to say I want to advertise my product, but not when people are watching this show? I don't know. I don't make that. I never made that connection when I'm watching YouTube videos, but I guess some people do.
Maybe, but I think it's just they're miserable losers that.
That's what I do. I think that too.
And that's the problem is that like there's these they're loud enough. I think it's a really small number of people.
It is.
But they're loud enough, and they make it seem like there's way more of them, or that they represent.
Well, if there's 5,000 of them in the country, which there's probably more, but you tweet at someone, say Tide is advertising on YouTube, and they watched, I don't know, the KKK channel on YouTube, and a Tide thing came up, and they screenshot it, a Tide ad at the bottom with a guy in the Klan hood. and they tweet it at Tide and say you're advertising on this, and then they get 5,000 retweets or whatever, 100,000, I don't know. Yeah, Tide's going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
They have to. I mean, they can't say nothing.
Right.
And so what is Tide supposed to do? It's like it's a tough situation.
Yeah, it is. And it's because of the kind of
The little whiny.
yeah, and they let it happen. It's
Yeah.
like when it's like a little kid that whines and complains, and you give them what they want, and then now you've just created a monster.
Right.
So it's I said this before, but it's so weird that people want to like. I feel like they want to starve the. It's not enough that they like. If someone does something bad or wrong, that like you punish them a little, some sort of punishment economically that maybe they lose an advertise, but it's like no, they want all advertisers off it. They want they want these people to not be able to make any money, basically be starved to death because you know if they were successfully able to get Stefan Molyneux kicked off Twitter, kicked off YouTube,
Just encourages them.
kicked off Patreon, all this stuff. Like that would not be enough. If he tried to go, work at like a normal business, like I think he was involved in software.
Yeah, he did something.
So
like
if he tried to go get a job working at a software company, people would mob that software company too.
Yep.
And so like, how dare you hire this white supremacist, whatever they're going to call him, and they're going to keep doing that and doing that. And it's like, well, if you don't think that he can, like, you disagree so much with him
that you think he should basically die.
Yes, because he should not be able to earn a living. And if you can't earn a living, you can't support yourself. So you want him to die, basically, like you said. Like, that's real weird.
It's very strange.
Like, what could... with all this stuff going on in the world, with all, like, there are real... we were kind of saying this before we went on the air. Like, we don't like Stefan Molyneux, but, like, he is, like, 100,000 times better than, like, any mainstream political thing.
Anyone?
Yeah, like, he says dumb stuff. And I don't know what's in his heart, but even if we say... Let's say that Stefan Molyneux is a racist and a misogynist. He's not advocating killing them.
He didn't vote for any wars.
Yeah, like that's we should cancel Stefan Molyneux, but not John McCain.
Not all of Congress.
Yeah,
I mean maybe one or two, but I don't know. I don't know who they are.
Like there are people that are out there like, and I don't mean to direct like let's say someone like I don't know who's a mainstream like neocon or something. Let's Max Boot.
Max Boot. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like all these like leftists and liberals just like hate Molyneux so much, and they're like so terrified of him, and like we were saying, basically want him dead. But Max Boot's okay. Like the guy who like never. That just loves killing people overseas, and it's what he loves to do.
All he talks about.
But since he, kind of bows to the altar of some of the progressive stuff when it comes to social, their accepted social norms. No, he's pretty good. He's all right. We just kind of disagree with some of the policy there. It's just a policy disagreement there. But the guy who says something that you don't says something off color about something else, that guy deserves to die by starving to death.
What I guess everyone's kind of waiting on and kind of hoping for is that some other platform will come up to compete, like a market solution. And you had Gab, but what happened? Do you know what happened with Gab? I heard they're kind of going the way of Twitter as well.
Yeah, they got they went along. They were like big on free speech and stuff. And so,
that was their whole thing.
Now it's like they're kind of curating it based on kind of the conservative views. So basically, they're like,
Where they like kicking liberals off?
yeah, it would be like if Liberty Hangout managed to
Was
social
running
media.
it?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that'd be a blast.
But either way, like I don't think that's what caused Gab's doom. I think what caused Gab's doom is it just wasn't good.
Wasn't usable. I did sign up like I don't know years ago.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, and it was awful.
Yeah, like really, what you should be doing. I mean, it would have been 1,000 times better if they just literally cloned Twitter and then instead of where it says Twitter, wrote Gab.
Right.
I don't know how feasible that is, but that's what they should have
Yeah,
shot
I
for
don't know.
because it was just and a lot of these alternative social media sites, it's like that. They're just not good. Like I remember Gab's the app that they had was awful. And it's like, I know, it's like, well, you should make something different. It's like, well, I'm the user. I'm the one that they're trying to get. And if they don't have a good experience for me, then what do you expect me to do?
Right.
Use it despite it like being awful? Also, I don't want to get off Twitter. I like Twitter. But I was exploring, other options, seeing what was going on out there. I kind of forgot what I was going to say next about that, but about alternatives. Yeah, so it's like I think we were talking a little bit earlier about how advertisements work with like YouTube and a lot of these services that it kind of creates this like weird incentive structure a little bit where it's like they have to, because people get so cranky and everything with the the cancel culture, that companies now care about what their the slightest bad association they have with something, even though it's not direct or anything. And it's like, be an adult. It's like, if you don't like, there's plenty of areas of Twitter and the internet and everywhere else that I don't like. I think is not good. It's unsavory, what have you. I don't go there. I don't associate with it. Like it's there is a point where you have to say like, all right, this is like structurally against my morals, and I'm not gonna do this stuff anymore. But like when it's just like kind of a sandbox environment, like that's the nature of the world.
I just don't get that mentality that like anyone who disagrees with me has to not exist.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make sense because what I was just saying right there would be like, if Twitter got to the point where they're doing stuff that like structurally that I really believe was like really against my morals,
Wouldn't use them.
yeah, I would quit. Not like rage over whatever. It's but people have this. They feel like they're have the sense of entitlement to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it exists, therefore it should be under the kind of the structure of the way I see the world, and if it's not, then how dare them? It's absolutely evil. Instead of being like, you know what, right, wrong, or indifferent, people think differently from me, and wagging a finger at them and screaming and trying to starve them to death is not the best way to get them on your side.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Wouldn't it be better? I mean, even if someone is, a real racist. What was the guy's name? The guy, he's a black guy. He was like a musician, and he's apparently like converted or became friends with something like 150 Klansmen, and changed a lot of their ways.
That dude, yeah.
He has like a collection. What was his name?
I don't know his name.
But isn't that a much better approach to Daryl Davis is his name? Isn't that a much better approach to handling it than just posting their picture everywhere and saying like, kill this guy? Do you think that'll make him a better person? Daryl Davis is a blues musician, but he also has what some might call an interesting hobby. For the past 30 years, Davis, a black man, has spent time befriending members of the Ku Klux Klan. He says once the friendship blossoms, the Klansmen realize that their hate may be misguided. What a better way to handle things.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's actually like changing those people's minds instead of
changing their lives.
yeah, screaming at them and pushing them deeper into the kind of the recesses of those niches, which is good. It's tough. Like it's not like, and I don't want to sit here and we do a lot of these episodes where we have commentary on what we think is wrong with kind of the world. And you know, I'm not trying to sit here and say that I'm perfect or I never do this stuff, because I do. Like, it's very easy to see someone getting dunked on Twitter and join in. But like,
and laugh at their misfortune.
But try to like think about it. And I'm not. And
I was gonna say, if this sounds preachy, we're kind of like saying, you know, it's kind of reinforcing it for ourselves.
Yeah, I've said this before when we've had episodes like this. I'm like, I'm saying this for me, so like, I'm trying to not be a hypocrite. I'm really chiding myself. Yeah,
who disagrees with you and says something stupid, and you just want to rip them.
Yeah. And it's one thing to like if you're in like a conversation, and you go at it with someone, you know, within reason, but like you point out something stupid they're saying or doing, that's one thing. But when you're doing it with the intention of getting a mob around them, and like, and I don't mean like the little 50 people see it and even that's, you know, that may be borderline. But when you're doing it with the intention of like getting massive amounts of people and just kind of like ruining, you know, not just like ruining their that time, that moment that they logged into Twitter, but like ruining their like lives. That's really one where it's like, all right, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Because they do understand they have power when they do that with those mobs, because of the way that like all of this kind of the economy of the internet runs, where you've got these services like Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. They're platforms where people can post stuff. There's advertisements there, and so you can, if you're making good content, you know, a lot of these services will give you a cut of the advertisement fees as a way to incentivize you to make more content that drives traffic to their sites. There's a mutual benefit there. And then there's the other parties that are involved are the payment processors that send the money back and forth between all these parties. So you need all, like, the content platform providers, the content producers, the advertisers, and the payment processors all kind of generally need to be on the same page, and the other users of the site, the consumers, the people that do the clicking and the viewing, they all generally kind of need to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
But when you when one group kind of starts rocking the boat, in this case, it's the really it's stemming from the content consumers on these sites. Once they start rocking the boat, it starts messing things up. And as soon as you get one party kind of getting cold feet, because they don't want to be associated with something that the rage mob has decided is evil, then they'll pull away, and it kind of causes a chain reaction. And then the content producers that are making money are now kind of like left out to dry. So I don't think that's really a great thing, but it's kind of the way that system is set up. It's kind of doomed to be that way. And so with cancel culture as it is, and everyone knows that it's a possibility that you could say something, or you could have said something years ago that someone decides to dig up, which is another.
Yeah, that's another crazy one.
Yeah. Who was the Heisman winner or something that they dug up stuff when he was like 15 or something?
Was that what's his name at Arizona?
It might have been Kyler Murray.
Cardinals now. Yeah, Kyler Murray. I think it was. And how about the Budweiser kid? He had like a game day sign that had his
yeah,
Venmo name, and like he got all this money, and then he wanted to like Budweiser teamed up with him or something, and then he was going to donate it all to charity. But then someone found a quote he had from Dave Chappelle when he was like 14 or 16 or something.
Yeah, what miserable, like, sad life you live.
I mean, then the stuff that when people do when they're teenagers is just crazy to me that anyone would criticize them, because I don't know any teenagers who weren't incredibly stupid.
Right.
Or said things they wouldn't have said when they were 22 or 25 or 40 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have a Twitter account when I was, a teenager, or it didn't even exist. Like,
yeah.
I've been canceled many times over, probably.
Yeah.
It was because I wasn't into tractors, and we know that's what people really want. But people are starting to understand that, especially on the libertarian side, since a lot of us say things that are not really allowed in polite society, and so if any libertarian, really, if the wrong person heard it, they would probably flip out. Like, even something as innocuous as like, yeah, I don't think minimum wage is a good idea. We should do away with minimum wage.
Right.
This person hates poor people.
You're a racist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything's a racist.
Yeah.
So there has been people do understand that, and like you said, when we kind of brought up Gab earlier, they are looking for alternatives. But I don't think that, like, looking for alternative platforms is necessarily the way you want to do it, because it really doesn't solve the problem. Because all of us, like, we looked at Gab, and Gab started out as this free speech platform. We're all going to be adults, and if you don't like something, then, like, don't click it. But we're not gonna be the babysitter. But then, look what happened. They kind of decided that they changed their mind on that, and now not all speech is welcome there. So that's really not. I don't think that's really a very adequate solution. But what could be useful is that if you did away with the middleman, or just change the way that a lot of these sites do their monetization. That if you could have a system where instead of having, like, the advertisers do a lot of this funding and having payment processors, if the people that actually wanted to view the content and consume the content could pay the content providers, and also, since the platform was providing the service of giving them something to host the content on, they would get a cut too. So we are kind of getting there. We're starting with the emergence of Bitcoin that eliminates the need for that third party, that middleman, that ability to censor payments. It is really kind of changing the game. And then on top of that, with the Lightning Network that allows for, like, instant transactions that are really cheap, also that, like, you can, like, stream money at people. So the idea that, like, you could post a video and people could, like, literally pay by the second as they watch it, is a really powerful thing, a really big game changer. And then on top of that, and this is, like, the big thing with Liberty Mugs, is BTC Pay Server, which is a self-hosted payment processor for collecting Bitcoin transactions. And we just added that on Liberty Mugs.
That is live.
Yes. So before, when we were taking Bitcoin payments, we had to kind of go through a third party to kind of do sort of the back end stuff with giving you an invoice to pay, and then you pay it, and then they kind of check Bitcoin's blockchain to make sure that it's a valid transaction, and then it gets confirmed, and then send back to the website. It's like, yep, the payment went through. Now you can start doing whatever you got to do to start processing the order. BTC Pacer is an open source software that allows you to do that all by yourself. So we're using a Raspberry Pi to host that, and actually host a little website that that it interfaces through. So that just like eliminates a lot of third-party needs, and also it takes Lightning Network. So now you can use the Lightning Network to buy mugs and stuff with Bitcoin. So go do that. I tested it out a few times, and it was instant. It was pretty awesome. But this is like a great opportunity for someone like Stefan Molyneux or anybody else who's is getting canceled or having issues with getting paid. Is that just route around these people? There's even a service someone came. I think it was Jeff Vandrew came up with. I think it's called Libra Patron, which is it's
not familiar.
It's a Patreon clone. I don't know if it's a clone, but it's an alternative to Patreon that you use with BTC Pay Server. So it's like, I know it's not the most it's not the most convenient thing. It's not the easiest thing necessarily. Although I remember, I don't know, 6 months ago to a year ago, I wanted to try to do BTC Pay Server, and it felt like it was over my head. But now the instructions and the documentation are so good that even someone that doesn't know what he's doing, like me, was able to figure it out pretty well. I had some questions, and there's plenty like chat groups and everything, including like the main developers that are like the top people in the space that are answering questions of like, you know, people that walk in and they're like, I don't know any sort of programming. I'm trying to do this and I messed this up. What do I do? And they're like immediately helping them already. So that's really neat to see. But this stuff is like moving pretty quickly. And if you can get on board and be like one of the pioneers, like you could really help the world by doing this. And I know it's, you know, oh, do you really want to help Stefan Molyneux? Well, I don't want the guy to starve to death. And I want Stefan Molyneux to use Bitcoin. I want my enemies to use Bitcoin. Because that's what it's going to take for it to become money, that everyone uses it, not just the people that I like. So if you're concerned about getting censored and not being able to sit at the table because of the things you say, especially if any sort of your livelihood's at stake. We're not doing this really for much money other than what we make off Liberty Mugs, and we haven't really even touched the money we've made from it yet. We're not like using it as necessary income, but a lot of people do monetize the stuff that they do. Maybe people not as big as Stefan Molyneux, but they're just as, maybe not more susceptible to having those issues, because if they lose YouTube, that might be like everything. Mm-hmm. Or if someone kind of flags something they said or did, if they're not that big, then whoever is hosting them might not care enough they'll say, oh, yeah, well, all right, it's not even worth the hassle, you're done. We experienced that a little bit with our website hosting provider when someone made a fake DMCA.
Well, thankfully, we didn't.
Right. But it was
we were able to resolve it.
Yeah, but it was very obvious. Well, we kind of had to bite the bullet on it and just say, okay, we like, all right, we'll take down the stuff.
How far did we want to defend ourselves?
Yeah, we tried. But
we made a case, but
it was very obvious that they don't like. They're busy people, and they hear something like, "Oh, someone's doing something real evil on your platform," and they kind of look at it, and because they've got 8,000 other things they got to look at, and they say, "Oh yeah, that kind of looks like it." So yeah, you got to take this off, and you try to explain it, and you realize as you're trying to explain it to them, and they start to actually look at it, you realize that they're like, ugh, okay, yeah, this is not. But then,
because we actually made a good case, and they kind of agreed, but they were like, all right, but you still got to.
Yeah, because it's like they don't want to be the one.
This guy's real pain in the
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they realize too. It's like, all right, well, this is not going to go. Like, if this gets made a big deal, this is not press that we want. It's not good. So you just kind of have to bite the bullet. You got to give in sometimes to these people,
Yeah.
and it stinks. It's not pleasant. I don't like waving a white flag and saying, "All right, you win, jerk." Like, just lying through your teeth, trying to mess us up. Like, he's not a good dude, but there's not many other options that we have, unless we had an easier, and we could. It's the other thing, you can self-host your website. It's possible. It's not the easiest thing in the world, and I'm not saying, I mean, we don't do it, so I'm not trying to wag my finger at anybody that doesn't, but some people have the skills to do that, and as these technologies start to develop, it should get easier. And I'm just bringing all this up because it's like now we finally, with Bitcoin and BTC Pay Server and Lightning Network, we're finally really developing the tools that we can say, you know what, goodbye, we don't need you anymore, and not have to deal with this anymore. So it's really striking at the root of the power that a lot of these like nasty people have. And I know it's not like the easiest thing. Not if you want to try to transition into Bitcoin, it's not everyone
Can be
has it.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
That's why you should go check out our page.
Yeah. But I think it's important for people to start, like, to even just as a hedge, like, set up. If you're making money, if you're using the internet and the content that you're creating to make money, I really think that you should hedge what you're doing currently with like BTC Pay Server and Bitcoin. Get it set up. There's probably people that are supporting you that are in. Bitcoin is popular enough now that there are people that have Bitcoin and would be willing to pay you in Bitcoin. If you've got a big enough and good enough fan base that if you disappeared from the normal things and you said, hey, you can still access me by using Bitcoin, then that might incentivize them to actually look at getting Bitcoin themselves, even if it's just to pay you. There's a lot of stuff out there that makes buying Bitcoin pretty easy for even the technically illiterate person. If they can use basic apps on their smartphone, then they can use Bitcoin. Even the Lightning Network has gotten to the point of being like brutally easy, and you barely have to think with some of the wallets they have out there now. You trade some security for it, but just for the amounts that you're probably dealing with, it's not. I don't want to get into that. It's a whole other thing. But I'm just saying that like all these user experiences and the tools, they're drastically and dramatically improving very quickly, and I think now's the time for people that are on the fringes, that say things that aren't going to be popular to the rest of society, to get on Bitcoin and these other tools, that if it really does hit the fan for them one day, that they're able to kind of protect themselves and keep going. And I think eventually, if they are leveraging Bitcoin, to just kind of surpass all these people anyway. So it's my solution. That's the free market success stories. BTC Pay Server. It is fantastic, and I think we should even start, even when we see people like Stefan Molyneux on Twitter lamenting about how they're getting canceled and losing services, like say, hey, here's an alternative for you. Because if they're able to find different ways and route around the things, and they're the pioneers for it, it's probably going to end up helping you.
And he's got a lot of supporters, and if they get involved too, there's a lot of people getting involved.
Yeah. I mean, just anyone who's gotten a little bit involved in Bitcoin and started pulling threads and going down rabbit holes, they end up gaining an appreciation for a lot of things they wouldn't have otherwise had. and like the benefits of it are far greater than just being like, oh, I have this other form of being able to transact value between people. There's a lot of good stuff that can happen from it. So, hey, maybe Bitcoin will fix stuff in Molyneux too, and it'll make them have better takes on stuff.
We can only hope.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think I'm going for almost an hour.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm kind of all spieled out over this kind of stuff. It's just so exhausting. I hate it when people say, oh, this is so exhausting for something that's not physical, but it kind of is.
It is very exhausting.
And I just hope that people are finally done with the cancel culture and realize it's like, you know what? I'm tired of like having a rage over stupid things that don't mean anything. Like, oh, something, I see a video and someone's doing something that I don't like and I got all mad about it. And then the day ends and it's like, well, my life is no different.
I don't know. It's such a mystery to me. I don't understand that at all. It just makes no sense to me.
Well, I guess it's just kind of like they don't have much going for themselves, so anything they can do to make themselves feel superior, that's what they're going to go for. I don't know.
You might be right.
Very sad. Sad. Like Donald Trump would say. So, all right. Show notes page for this episode is mcflugel.com/180. Go check out libertymugs.com. Go check out BTC Pay Server. If you're interested in setting up BTC Pay Server, you don't have to use a Raspberry Pi. There's other methods. There's a lot of, like if you can do like cloud hosting and stuff. There's some pretty cheap options out there to do that. And I think setup is a little bit simpler. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line. I'd be happy to help you any way I can. If I can't help you directly, I'll guide you to resources that can help you. And also, if you're interested in just using our actual BTC Pay Server site, where we would be the payment processor for you, you just have to trust that we won't censor you, which we promise we won't, unless you're something that we really don't like. But I don't think anyone
post your picture on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, unless you're like John McCain or Planned Parenthood, I don't think you have to worry about us censoring what you're doing.
Yeah,
I think anyone who's listening to this isn't the type of person that we would want to
censor.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think it's a pretty neat thing. And I hope it starts catching on. So yeah, if you're interested in using our BTC Pay Server instance, let us know. Setup is pretty simple to do that. You can even do. It's not just like. It's not just for like direct e-commerce like a WooCommerce type thing or Shopify. You can also use it for if you want to get donations, or even point of sale. Like if you've got something where you have, a physical store and you want to accept Bitcoin, you can use BTC Pay Server to do that. You can have it loaded on whatever you do to like your cash register. If you've got like a tablet or phone, you can do it there. So it's really, really a neat and useful service that's got a lot of power to it. So. All right, that's all I had. I don't think there's any other kind of loose ends we got to tie up. Do you have anything, Slappy?
Nope.
All righty. Well, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Peace.